Hey there YouTube lovers, my name is BB8 and today I am going to review Chibi-Robo. Prior to the release of Chibi-Robo on the GameCube Nintendo Classics Collection, I've only had experience with one Chibi-Robo game, and I think you already know how that turned out. I thought I was curious to know how the original Chibi-Robo on the GameCube actually played out. But when the GameCube Nintendo Classics Collection was announced in April, with Chibi-Robo being added to the roster, Chibi-Robo actually did get added in earlier than I thought, because I was expecting games like Super Mario Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion, and a lot more to make their way in first, and then Chibi-Robo would come at a later date. But how was the game itself? Has Chibi-Robo been as helpful as the Sanderson family has been saying so, or should he have been left in the basement? You're about to find out. So, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? For the gameplay, Chibi-Robo, in its original form on the GameCube, involves you playing as, of course, the titular character, exploring the Sanderson household to perform tasks such as cleaning up the messes and lending help to both the family and the toy companions throughout the Sanderson household, with each task rewarding you with happy points, which does serve as the progression system within Chibi-Robo, because the further you progress, the stronger your battery gets. The overall gameplay loop of Chibi-Robo, such as tidying, discovering some secrets throughout the house, and solving puzzles, is relaxing and addictive, which does offer that kind of gameplay you would come to expect from their more experimental titles, such as Pikmin and Animal Crossing. But unlike them two, Chibi-Robo never got a sequel that played out a lot like this. The controls do feel responsive when you settle into them, and I do feel like the first hour of the game does take a bit of adjustment, since one of the more divisive mechanics of Chibi-Robo in its original form had to be the battery life, which does require frequent recharging earlier on in the game, which I do find to be a burden, but does become less of an issue as you progress through the game and you upgrade your battery a bit further, transforming it into what seems to be a burden in the first hour of the game into a manageable resource management game. The backtracking can feel a bit drawn out within certain areas of the game, especially with how long it takes to reach certain areas and to get back to the Chibi house, but a sense of discovery within the game does ensure that helping the household in Chibi-Robo is rewarding. The only other problem I really have with the gameplay is to do with the final boss, Queen Spider, because yet again, with her being the only boss in the game, I don't typically find her to be that well designed. Only because when you confront her after finding Giga-Robo's leg, it's just shooting over and over again until she's defeated. There's no form of strategy within her boss design or anything like that. And Chibi-Robo, if it ended up with sequels, which that's likely not going to happen now, could have fixed the boss design quite well. For the graphics and the art direction, in terms of visuals, Chibi-Robo holds up extremely well 2 decades after its release. The art direction is charming and fits the toy-sized perspective of Chibi-Robo very well. But with the art direction being charming, there is some consistencies to bring up here. The human characters and Tao, the dog, feel visually disconnected from the stylized toy designs, and the egg soldiers look like they came from the Nintendo 64 era. not only because the N64 was the generation before the GameCube, but I just find the overall character models in the game to be quite inconsistent. Because some character models do look good, like on some of the toys, but the only character models I see being out of place have to do with the human characters, Tao the dog, and the egg soldiers. And despite these minor quirks within the game, the toy characters themselves do stand out in terms of personality, with some creative designs that do contribute to the game's overall appeal. For the characters, one of the strongest aspects of Chibi-Robo mainly has to be its large cast of characters. Since the Sanderson family members, consisting of the mother, the father, and Jenny, they are quirky but grounded, with their storylines having a fair balance of humour and emotional weight. And Jenny's frog-like behaviour is quite fun and memorable as well. And while the struggles with the parents do give the game a surprisingly realistic sense of drama, the toy characters do bring playful energy and contribute to the game's overall world building, which did have the potential to be the strongest in a Nintendo franchise. That is, if a particular 3DS game did not ruin the franchise's reputation and caused it to be vaulted entirely. But other than that, Mort's arc with Princess Pitts, for example, does bring in some heartfelt moments that bring up the story beyond the simple chores that you do throughout the Sanderson house. And there are quite a few fun arcs to go around with as well, such as Dinah's arc with Funky Phil, the Egg Soldier arc, Sophie's arc, trying to give her love letters to Drake Redcrest, and there's a lot more to go around here than I thought there would be out of a Chibi-Robo game. For the story, what surprisingly makes Chibi-Robo stand out from other platformers like Mario is how the story is unexpectedly deep. From its cover, it does appear as a light-hearted adventure about a tiny cleaning robot, but the overall themes within the plot are deeper than I expected to be, since the game does explore a whole bunch of serious themes such as loss within the themes of Funky Phil and Dinah's arc, divorce with the Sanderson family arc, and love with Sophie, Drake Redcrest, Mort, and Princess Pitts arcs respectively. And it's kind of rare that family-friendly titles that came out around this time would have such deep arcs like this, since the storylines don't feel forced, but instead make the world of Chibi-Robo feel lived in. It feels organic, and it feels like it has life in it. Something I didn't expect from a game like this, giving you more reasons to care about the characters and the toys within the Sanderson home. And like I said, it's a world that feels layered, with the potential that could have been expanded within sequels, but unfortunately, Ziplash literally destroyed the potential of future sequels. And finally, for the soundtrack. The soundtrack of Chibi-Robo isn't that grand on scale like orchestra-based like in The Legend of Zelda, but does perfectly complement the overall tone of the game, since Chibi-Robo does aim for a more playful, cartoon-like soundtrack within its score that do react dynamically to the actions that Chibi-Robo performs, such as the ukulele strums and the light-hearted jingles that do make scrubbing floors and picking up trash throughout the Sanderson house feel like it has a bit of life in it. And the sound design of Chibi-Robo does enhance the overall atmosphere of the game as well, which does give weight to each interaction that you make throughout the game, just to make sure that the game does not feel quiet or lifeless. As someone who loathed Chibi-Robo Ziplash, I wasn't really expecting anything massive from the original Chibi-Robo game from the GameCube. But it turns out, Chibi-Robo Plug Into Adventure is an underrated gem within the GameCube library thanks to its creative, heartfelt, and unlike anything Nintendo had even produced at the time, thanks to its charm and personality that do stand out quite well, even if the overall game is not flawless. Since there were a few issues I did forget to mention in the review, such as the pacing issues and the lack of a mission tracker, with some issues I did bring up, such as the inconsistent character models and the occasional backtracking within the game, do keep the overall game from being perfect. But the overall heart and the imagination of Chibi-Robo is enough to make up for its flaws. And for those who are begging to embrace its quirky art style, Chibi-Robo does remain one of the GameCube's most underrated experiences nearly 20 years later, and that is why I give Chibi-Robo Plug Into Adventure the collector perk with the certified bronze accolade. And overall, I give Chibi-Robo Plug Into Adventure an 8 out of 10. 2 decades after release, Chibi-Robo still has the charm, whimsy, and quirky personality within it, and it is a reminder that Nintendo's more experimental games throughout the GameCube, and proof that smaller and quieter scale Nintendo games can carry as much weight as the grand in scale Nintendo games like The Legend of Zelda, Mario, or Metroid. But if it wasn't for its underwhelming sequels, Chibi-Robo might have become a lasting Nintendo franchise, even today. But as it stands, Chibi-Robo does remain a cult classic that's worth experiencing if you've not played it before. And if you are looking for a game with heart and creativity, Chibi-Robo is the right game for you. And that is what makes it an underrated gem. So guys, what did you think of my review of Chibi-Robo Plug Into Adventure? So, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and turn your notification bell on so you don't miss another review video like this one in the future. And I will see you all in a future review video. BB8 out.